Okay, here we are. Moving on to our next fight, or our co-main event. Um, we have Mauricio Shogun Hua 26-11 versus Paul Craig. Both these are excellent fighters, so we'll spend some time talking about them. I think Shogun Hua, of course, has the experience, whereas Paul Craig's the young, up-and-coming fighter. Mauricio is 37, so and he's getting up there, and he's going to be 38 on the 25th of November. So he's not getting younger. His last win was against his last fight against Tyson Pedro, and then he had a loss against Anthony Smith, which again, that was when Anthony Smith was making his tear. Like I said a moment ago regarding another fighter. Then we have he lost by devastating KO by elbow. I remember that. And then he beat John Vellante, Corey Anderson, and Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. And he beat Corey by split decision, just so you know. And then John Vellante, he beat him by TKO. So, Shogun's on his way out. I do see this in Paul Craig's favor. He's just, he's 31. He's in his prime, but he's a lot greener. And Shogun knows every trick in the book. His last fight, he won against Vinicius Maria Castro, and then lost against Alonzo Menefield, who's a beast, and lost by KO. And then came back at least with a win, so that shows something. He's from Scotland, but he has this habit, looks like, where he wins, loses. I hate seeing that in fighters. I like seeing more consistency. Once he hit the big time, it seems like he's been very inconsistent. So his last fight was a win. We'll see if he can pull it off with Shogun. You'd think that Paul Craig would win, but if Shogun was a big underdog, I would definitely consider putting money on him, and definitely in a round robin. Let's go to the next fight, guys. Next fight we have Charles Oliveira, the Bronx Oliveira, versus Jared Gordon, my boy Jared Gordon. He's a not personal, but a Facebook friend with associate. He's very approachable, and just a great guy all around. So he's 15-3, going to fight Charles Oliveira. This is a big fight for Jared, because Jared is coming off a win off of Dan Murray, but before that he lost to some tough guys in Joaquim Silva and Diego Ferreira. And so he's got a lot of wins by TKO. It's a decent amount, almost half are by TKO. So he's got power, Jared Gordon does. And he stands 5'9", whereas Charles Oliveira, I believe, is 5'10". Yeah, and he's 27-8, and he's coming on. He's on a 5-fight win streak starting with Clay Guida, then Christos Giagos, Jim Miller, David Timor, and then most recently Nick Lentz in May 18 of 2019. So and the Brazilian's on a chair. The Bronx has been on a chair. I see this going. I want Jared to win, but it's going to be a tough one for him. He's going to have to be very versatile, and we got some things that I've been talking to him about, but I definitely think he can do it. I think he puts the lights out, so we'll see how it goes. Then you have Antonio Arroyo versus Andre Munoz. Not going to really talk about those guys. Marcus Perez versus Wellington Turman. These fights actually will probably be great fights, by the way, but I'm not giving them much time because I don't know much about them, and I'm not going to pretend to, and you guys can go look up the stats. So then you have Sergio Moraes, one of the most ridiculous MMA grapplers, and then James Krause. Unfortunately, Sergio Moraes has trouble against the long guys, and against James Krause, I don't think he wins, but if he does get James Krause, on the ground, I wouldn't be surprised if he choked him out, because once he gets a hold of you, he's got so many ways to put you to sleep. He's one of the top three next to, I believe, obviously Damon Maya #1, and then I'm drawing a blank on my other guys that are right there with him. Okay, moving on, we have Ricardo Ramos versus Luis Eduardo Garagori. Knowing nothing about this Luis guy, but he's 13-0. Let's take a look at him because now he's piqued my interest. He's 13-0. He's 30 years old, 5'10", fighting at featherweight, 145. He's had one fight in the UFC against Humberto Bandame. That was a decision that he won unanimously. I believe that was a great fight. If unless I'm mistaken, maybe not. But it was unanimous. And before that, he's got fights against. See any of these names ring a bell? I don't see anybody there that's ever, been in any big organizations that I would recognize, even from small organizations. But that's not to say he's not talented. But he's going to be going into the cage with a guy that Ricardo Ramos has got a shit ton of experience in the UFC. Not a shit ton, but he's been there. This is going to be his sixth fight, I believe. And he's only got one loss in that time, and that was against Said Nurmagomedov. And I believe, I don't know if he's related to Habib. I believe they're just, it's a common name, or maybe cousins, I don't know. So, but yeah, he lost by TKO, spinning back fists and punches, believe it or not. But still, besides that loss, which was just 2 fights ago, he won after that to Journey Newsom, I believe the guy's name. Kind of hard to read from here. And then, I go with Ricardo Ramos on this for sure. Francisco Trinaldo versus Bobby Green. That's going to be a great fight. These guys both love to just throw power. It's really about, this could go anyway. Francisco Trinaldo, let's see here, baby. He is coming off a loss against Alexander Hernandez back in July 20th of 2019, and then he won against Evan Dunham before that, lost against James Vick, and then won against Jim Miller, and then lost against Kevin Lee. Beat my broadcast and analyst Paul Felder, and fighter, of course, ranked fighter by TKO. It's just he's so inconsistent. He's only been on a streak once, and then once he got faced top guys, he was always that's the thing about Francisco. He just win, lose. He just can't keep it together. And considering his last fight was a loss, he's fighting Bobby Green. Odds are maybe he'll win because he normally wins after his loss. Whereas Bobby Green has had a lot of losses lately. He basically he lost his last fight against Jakar Close by decision, unanimous, in December 15th of 2018. So he also hasn't fought much recently. And he did beat Aaron Koch, but that was back in January 27th of 2018, and then had a draw against Lando Venado, which is a tough thing to do in itself. I will say that Lando's a beast. And it was a split draw at UFC 216, Ferguson versus Lee. Then he lost against Hashid Magomedov and Dustin Poirier he lost against, which these aren't slouches. And then Edson Barbosa, of course. These are all just beaters, world beaters. He did beat Josh Thompson, who's a great fighter, and Pat Healy, and James Krause, and Jacob Volkman. These are all really good fighters. So he does have some names he's beat, but those was a while ago. So it's what you've done. The MMA sport is what have you done for us lately? And lately, not much. So I'm going to have to side with Francisco Trinaldo on this. He's just been more active lately. And yeah. Warley Alves versus Randy Brown. We have Warley Alves versus is 13-3 versus Randy Brown, who's 11-3. Randy Brown is coming out of Budokan Martial Arts Academy. He's a welterweight. He's 6'3". His last fight was against Brian Barberena, and he beat him by TKO in the 3rd round. The fight before that was against Nico Price. He did lose that by KO in the 2nd, and he's one of these guys that's been a little bit inconsistent lately as well. And then he beat Mickey Gall by decision, unanimous, and then lost before that to Bilal Muhammad on February 11th of 2017. Then he had 2 wins back to back against Brian Camozzi and Eric Montano, and then before that he had lost to Michael Chiesa, and then you go all the way back, he's had all wins, but that was before he was in the UFC. So once he entered the UFC, he's another guy that hasn't really been consistent, unfortunately. Randy Brown, like to see he's the guy, he looks like he's built to just be able to do that. Unfortunately, he looks like a guy that should be able to beat anybody, but he just needs to be consistent, and he definitely could. Now he's fighting a beast in Warlley Alves. Warlley Alves is definitely going to have to give up some reach. He's 5'11", he's 13-3, but he's also a little bit inconsistent. He beat Sergio Moraes, who I mentioned earlier, who's a master of jiu-jitsu, in a great fight, but he knocked him out in the third round. Yeah, he lost against James Krause. That's why MMA math never makes sense, because he could end up beating Randy, who beat James Krause, I believe I just said, or maybe I was talking about another fighter. Regardless, that's just weird how MMA math is. But he lost against James Krause before that, and then he beat Sultan Aliev, and then some guys that aren't, I don't know, not big name guys. Of course, he lost against Kamaru Usman, made a decision, which that alone, going that long with Kamaru, is pretty good, but it was unanimous, and lost against Brian Barberena by unanimous decision. Seems like he did beat Colby Covington by submission, guillotine choke, which was awesome back in UFC 194. People want to go back and look at that. And Nordine Taleb, which is also a great fighter. Alan Jaban. Mike, let's see who else he beat. A lot of these guys aren't great, but there are some names that I recognize. So besides the ones I mentioned, those are really really it's a tough one. I think if Randy Brown can keep it away, use his range, and actually pick him apart, he can win. Otherwise, if Warlley Alves gets in close, he could submit him. Get him on the ground, because he's sneaky. And then you got Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Renan Barão. This would be a great fight. I just can't believe it's so low on the card. Renan Barão, 34-8, former champ, on a humongous losing streak. Okay, that's why he's so low. I mean, he's 32 years old, though, guys. He's not an old guy. He can bounce back, because you got to remember, if you look at his record, he won like 30 fights in a row before he lost. I mean, this guy beat everybody before in 2014, losing to DJ Dillashaw, which just derailed his career. And after that, he lost DJ Dillashaw. He did come back against a win against Mitch Gagnon, but then had to fight Dillashaw again, which he lost. Then he fought Jeremy Stevens in a tough decision, which he got beat up and lost there. Then he beat Philip Nover, which obviously he should in the decision. People thought he'd be more impressive. And then since then, he's lost against Aljamain Sterling back in 2017 in July. And then Brian Kelleher in 2018 February he lost. And then Andre Ewell, he lost in 2018, September of 2018. And then most recently, Luke Sanders in February of 2019. So this is really his last fight if he doesn't win it, unfortunately for Renan. I feel like he's going to have to do something spectacular. Douglas Silva de Andrade is an animal. He's he's older, actually, than Renan. He's 34. And he's 5'6", so I don't think the height reach thing should be too big of a problem. I think Renan's about 5'5", if I'm not mistaken, or 5'7". Actually, he is a little taller than him. I don't know why I thought Renan was shorter, but okay. He lost Peter Yan, and then he beat my boy from Ecuador, Marlon Chito Vera, back in 2018. Lost to Rob Font. Beat Enrique Briones, Cody Gibson, lost to Tuka Zabrai Tukagov. I can never say his name, but he's a beast, and lost to him by decision. And then the rest of his fights are definitely not in the caliber of Renan Barão, that's for sure. I think Renan Barão's experience should help him just in spades if he knows how to adapt and use it to win him the fight. I'm not gonna even pick somebody on that fight because I love Henin, and I hate picking against him. But yeah. Ariane Lipsky versus Priscilla Cachoeira. I'm not going through that. And Duda, they're 11. Priscilla is 8-3, and Ariane is 11-5, and Duda Santana is 3-1, and Tracy Cortez is 6-1. Not going through those preliminaries. And I really went through that more than I like. The fight night on November 23rd to be announced. They don't have any fights, I guess, in the lineup, so we're gonna go right to Overeem versus Rosenstrike. Jazarino, it's like Portuguese. Jazarino Rosenstrike. Just screws me up. I can't do it. So we have him versus Overeem. That should be a great fight. People don't know that Rosenstrike comes from same kickboxing type background, but us from Suriname. They have excellent, not like Dutch, a little bit different, but they have a great history as well, and it should just be an all-out fucking war. And we've seen the power that Overeem possesses over the years, and we've also seen the power just recently. No less than a month is going to go by, and we're going to get to see Rosenstrike at it again, and let's see if he's got the speed and I believe he does to, if he cracks Overeem go to bed just like when Ngannou hit him. Same thing with Overeem. I'm not picking anybody. I love both these guys. May the best man win. That's all I'm saying on that. Everybody knows everything about those guys. There's no really breaking that down. I think the only thing I could say is Overeem's got... I didn't see Jazarino's kick, but I'm assuming he's got great kicks. He does have good leg kicks, I noticed. But it seems like Overeem's got more flexible legs, but I can't say that because I have not seen the man enough. So I guess we'll see. So I'm not going to comment. And then we have Steph in the Skyscraper Struve for the co-main versus Ben Rothwell. That should be a bloody war, possibly. I think Rothwell does it. He's just got a bigger chin. And unless Stephen Struve leg kick KO Ben Rothwell, which I could also see. So, but otherwise, I don't know. Then we got Aspen Ladd, the big up-and-coming star, 8-1 versus Yana Kutsikayev. She is 12-4. This should be a great fight. I think Aspen is going to take it to her world on the ground, and Yana is going to struggle, and she'll win by submission or ground and pound referee stoppage. In the second or early third, late second, Mariana Rodriguez versus Cynthia Calvillo. This might be a decision or not, but I actually, Mariana's got great. She's a great fighter for, she's got great Muay Thai hands, and she's just on a tear. She's undefeated. She's 5'7", and the thing about fighting somebody like, who is she fighting here? Just lost her name. That's weird. Oh, Cynthia Calvillo, who's a lot shorter, or not a lot shorter, 5'4", 3 inches. I think she's going to be able to get the clinch and knock her out. So I go with Marina if she can use that tie. Carlos Condit, love to see it, versus Mickey Gall. I got to go with Carlos' experience. But I could see Mickey Gall try to take him down, but Carlos not easy. I think Carlos should be able to pull it off, and that should be a great fight. But I love Carlos Condit and Mickey Gall. So Rob Font, 16-4 versus Ricky Simon. Ricky Simon is coming off of a loss to Uriah Faber. Besides that, he was on a colossal win streak in the UFC, and outside he was on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC versus he previously to that loss had Rania Yaya, Montel Jackson, and Marab Dabashili, and then he was in LFA, which is also a great organization, where he beat Chico, former UFC fighter Chico Camus, who is a witty guy. So Anyways, fighting Rob Font, however, is a whole different animal. Rob Font is coming off a win against Sergio Pettis, so he's probably coming off a lot of confidence. He lost against Rafael Sensao, which still probably made him a great fighter because it was 3 rounds. He got to learn a lot, and then he beat Thomas Almeida, another excellent fighter, by TKO. I think he beat Douglas Silva de Andrade. His resume is just far superior, and I just don't see him losing this fight, really. Come here, Kiki. Sorry, I got my cat jumping on my lap. And, yeah, Rob Font I got by TKO, possibly. I don't know. It's hard to say. By TKO or submission, really. But I'm thinking TKO for some reason. I don't know. What are you guys thinking? I think TKO. And then we have Makhmudov Muradov versus Trevor Smith. I do have no clue. I know Trevor Smith, and I know a little bit about Muradov, but I have no clue who's going to win that fight. So I would say, if I looked at him, he's coming off a humongous win streak. He's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's in a 12-fight win streak, but only one in the UFC against Alessio Di Chirico. But still, there's something to be said about being on that big of a tear. And he's been knocking fools out. He's got 15 knockouts. So you got to be careful with Mahmoud Trevor Smith. Trevor Smith, on the other hand, has got 1 knockout, and he's a submission guy and has been knocked out 4 times. So, and he lost by decision most recently against Zach Cummins, Elias Theodoro by decision. And he beat Chris Camozzi by decision. It's a lot of decision fights with him. Andrew Sanchez, he lost by decision. He beat Joe Gigliotti by decision, unanimous. All these are unanimous, by the way, win or lose. And then Dan Miller by decision. I'm looking back when he lost by KO, knee and punches to Kyle Magalhaes. Kyle Magalhaes. Just like Vinny Magalhaes. Kyle Magalhaes. So, I don't know if they're related. Then he lost to Talis Leites, Ed Herman, Tim Kennedy. Anybody good, basically, he's lost to. He's beaten everybody else that's okay. So, I don't see Trevor Smith beating this guy. He's going to get knocked out, I think. Yudong Sedong versus Cody Stamann. Cody Staman's a beast, and Yudong has been on a little bit of tear. Can he handle the man that is Cody Stamann, though? Let's see. Yudong's been on a big fight, pretty big streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but only 4 in the UFC. I mean, that's still pretty good. It's the opponents I look at, though. The only one that stands out is Alejandro Perez, which he beat by KO. And Felipe Arantes is alright. He beat him by KO. And the fashion is also important. So, I mean, he's very flashy, but Cody Stamann is very technical. He's very smart. His last loss was against Aljamain Sterling, but his most recent fight was Alejandro Perez. So they have a common opponent, which he beat. I think they both beat. He beat him by decision. Aljamain was his fight before that, and he lost. But then before that, he was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fight win streak before Aljamain, and he's got far more experience in the UFC. So I think I don't know. It's a tough one to pick. Normally, when I'm not sure, I look at their heights, and then I try to look at things like intangibles, and I'll start looking at other things online that I'm not going to tell you my secrets, but height matters, not always. So 5'7" versus Yudong is probably the same, so it doesn't matter in this case. Excuse me. So the last fights is Bryce Mitchell and Matt Sales. Not going through that, and Courtney Casey's versus another lady we're not going through. So we're about to be done here. We got Usman versus Covington, in December. That's gonna be a tough one. I want Covington to win, kind of just so I can see Jorge Masvidal knock him out. But I don't want him to win because I don't want him to have a title. To be honest, I still want him to fight Masvidal, but without a title. I want to see Usman. I want somebody to knock him out. I don't care who, but I just don't see Usman knocking him out. But that would be great. Everybody wants him to suffer. Ortega versus the Korean Zombie would be a great fight. The only fights are shown is Volkan Oezdemir versus Alexander Rakic. Oh, that'd be a great fight. Oezdemir is obviously the guy famous for the Ezekiel choke, I believe, and then you have Alexander Rakic, who's a great kickboxing on the feet guy. And then after that, you have Doho Choi. Besides the main event, Brian Ortega and Korean Zombie, Jana Sung Hong. And then you have Said Nurmagomedov versus, who's 13-1 versus Aoni Barcelos. Great matchup. And then Alexandre Pantoja versus Matt Schnell. Also a really good fight. But those are the only ones they're showing as of now on Sherdog, at least. But there could be updates on UFC. But for the Usman versus Covington, I'd like to see what they're showing. Obviously, that's the main event. We know that Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski is the co-main. Amanda Nunes, these are all for belts, versus Jermaine Durandame is also for a belt. And then before that, you have Peter Yan versus Uriah Faber, Marlon Moraes versus Jose Aldo, just great fights. Daniel Tamer versus Chase Hooper. And then Ian Heinich versus Omari Akhmedov. And then Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara France. Just, Matt Brown versus, we're going to have to do a whole show on that event. So take it easy, guys. Enjoy. And please follow Dreknowsmma. I'm sorry, my throat's been sore.